Order. Please stand for the pledge for our big audience. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sometimes. Alrighty. Well, just seemed like meetings are been not in the cards lately, but here we is. Minutes from the last meeting, last month, January 31st, 2018.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Motion to accept, is there
A second.
a motion made and second? Any changes, corrections, issues, additions? For everybody for you to read. Good. You all set, Paul?
One change in the front page, under Town Administrator Accounting. It should be that the bylaws say that the departments are supposed to provide the level of detail that we request. And just put down that it would be the departments by bylaw versus us.
The departments, okay.
I mean, that's how it's stated in the bylaw, is that they would provide.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, if we're all set. Julie?
Abstain.
Paul?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And yes. I emailed out a thing about, back, the selectmen had a meeting with the Phillipston Board of Selectmen, and they were talking about budget, changing the election date, and negotiation representative for the school committee for the budget. I mean, the union negotiations and stuff, there could be a representative from both towns. They got to vote on that stuff. And on that, there was selectmen, Finance Committee, Advisory Committee, and so we need to have a representative to meet. There was an email in there today. Their potential dates right now, the school sent out a survey to either, and right now the dates are either February 28th or March 13th. So right now, tonight, we need to choose somebody, or somebody can volunteer, either way, to, that can go to the meetings. These dates are good for you, either one. You just, I'll give you the, I can forward you the email. It's a, they're doing a doodle survey to pick the dates. And whoever the
Right.
date that most people can attend is, I guess, the date that they're gonna pick. So, does anyone wanna volunteer and go to another meeting? They're fun, I'm telling you.
I'm kind of, which, is this different from the committee that we appointed you
Yes,
to?
yeah.
All
I'm
right.
on the District Reorganization Committee.
All right.
I didn't go to the meeting, but I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that came up, and I think it came up at town meeting, changing the election date.
Yeah.
So the election would happen after the town meeting. And stuff about the budget. I know bunch of stuff got kicked out. They were talking about updating the regional agreement. Because there are some things in there. I mean, East Templeton School doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Are they going to open
Volunteers.
up the whole regional agreement or just tweak it? Because that's a huge process.
Well, one of the school committee members was there and mentioned, she's a Phillipson representative, that a lot of these agreements aren't even on file with the state.
Mhm.
I intended to go on, hunt this down and see if it was, but, some storms and stuff and, being sick, I got a little sidetracked. But the email has the proposed things they're gonna talk about, fiscal 19 budget, the election date, proposed changes, and selection of a negotiation representative. The superintendent of schools kind of tossed it out there that he hadn't officially broached the subject, but another thing that was gonna be being looked at would be the district agreement. That has also been brought up at the District Reorganization Committee that I'm on
Mm-hmm.
presently. So, but like I said, they had this joint meeting, and during the course of that meeting, when I watched it, they decided they need further discussion, and rather than having all the board, all members of the Board of Selectmen there, they would have a couple from here, and this is the group that came up.
All right.
So, does anyone want to volunteer?
No.
Do you want to vote a member on, or how you all wish to do this?
So does this look like it's going to be an ongoing meeting after, depending upon
I-
what gets covered, or?
I think it's I'm guessing, but I think it's a short-term thing. Like, the committee that I'm on, it's not long-term. We were talking about that, and we may have like, I don't know, 6 more meetings or something.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, when the bylaw was changed for the advisory to be on any committee or board that was established by the selectmen, it would be ad hoc ones that were for a short term and wouldn't be ongoing. which allowed members for this committee that they can end up being on them.
Well, I'll volunteer if nobody else is interested.
God bless you.
Thank you, Paul. Save me from volunteering. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, question, not only that committee, wasn't there also, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought I watched a selectmen's meeting, and there was a elementary school building committee,
There
reuse
is
committee?
a Ballinville Elementary Reuse Committee. I have not gotten, I know they're looking for members.
Yeah, there's 7 members.
I thought that there were,
I have not gotten any, there's no emails in the advisory committee thing about, membership. I told Carter I would email.
I do know
Him.
that there's the 7 members of that
This
committee
is,
are listed as,
the emails
you
that
know,
I've
under
received.
the,
Okay.
we need
It
them
should,
filled on the web.
Somewhere in there, there's the,
There's now 20.
if you want, I can, I'll just forward you the
Positions.
email.
Yeah, just forward me, that'd be
And,
fine.
well,
Yeah,
you
because
can
I-
keep that too if you want.
as I understood the
But
meeting.
I'll send you the thing for the doodle survey so you can do that.
As I understood the meeting was.
Like I said, in there, you'll see
Okay,
a couple, 3 people have remanded already, answered the email, the survey, and that's how they arrived at those 2 dates.
Okay.
So it's probably gonna be like I said, the committee that I'm on, the most people that, whatever date they picked, the most people could attend, that's the one.
So,
Later on, I'll give an update, but
because as I understood that the meeting, Mr. Chairman, the select board had established a select person, and there was questions about whether it would be a select person by one of the members, and then I believe the advisory committee was another one that was mentioned. They didn't want to have employees per se on that meeting to make the decision on that. But I believe that's the reuse committee for elementary school was also another.
yeah, that's come up at the meeting that we're at, because they were talking about, like, what's gonna happen to that building? And I said, well, I know the town is putting together a committee to decide what to do with that building, so. And that's one of the things where on this committee that you're on, Paul, might come up is the district agreement. 'Cause at some point in time, it's gotta, because they gotta pull out them schools, and, because they won't exist anymore.
Okay.
In a year or whatever. And, some interesting items in that agreement, too.
Mm.
So, as a follow-up, I need to contact Carter. He's the one to say, I'll be
You
representative.
can let him know, and
Okay.
also like I said, that survey, just to let him know which date is good for you.
Okay.
The 28th of February or March. I think the 28th is a Wednesday.
It
Not
is.
100%,
Kevin.
but
Oh, this is from Dr. Cassavan? Okay.
Sue Varney is pretty much, I don't know
Okay.
why that is, but,
Yeah, the 13th is a Tuesday.
okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint Paul Grubb to what is the name of this committee? Does it have a name?
This is town election date.
Town, I don't know,
Joint town boards meeting.
to a joint town boards meeting. I'll leave it at that.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? No argument? No fighting for this position?
No, none.
All right, hearing none, seeing none. I escaped again. Julie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And yes. Should have put Liz on it. When you're not here, you get appointed.
You can pick it out.
That's how people used to end up as clerk.
Doesn't work too good, though.
Well, yeah, that was a position nobody wanted, because at least on the select board, at the end of the year, you had to sign. You sit there
Everything.
and sign a thing about this thing, so, yeah, they ain't here, yeah, make them clerk. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is, and I didn't bring any examples or anything, because it's been broached before, but I don't know if we've ever really had a talk of deciding if it's something that we want to do or not. I think Will broached it originally, it's been brought up, and I believe, here's a packet for you, Liz. Sort of like the selectmen's policies and procedures guide how the committee works, and, you know, like if you don't wanna meet after 10 o'clock, you know, spell out responsibilities of, you know, the chair, the clerk, da-da-da-da, this, that, and everything. There are some communities that have them, some of them are rather lengthy booklets, I mean, real picky detail. Others are, you know, smaller. So, the first thing I guess would be, is that something you think the committee should move on and
Mr.
proceed
Chairman,
on?
if I could, I was the one that brought this forth. One of the things that I saw is that communities that were effective and efficient on presenting to the public as well as their operation, and to hand down a procedure that a new member could end up following, per se, that goes along with the Association of Town Finance Board's large book, took the operating procedures and also the duties and responsibilities into a document, so that when a new member comes in, they can end up seeing this. This is something that along with some of our documentation that eventually we hope to have on the website, so that people can end up seeing how we're supposed to operate and what this committee is. Most people do not understand town government. They have a general idea, but not what the inner workings are and what the detail is. So that's why I brought it up. It's somewhat, like you said, some of them were more detailed than others, and I think that we should, at this particular point, is that they can end up getting some type of document together. I mean, it's not like all of us are going to be on here in 10 years. There'll be new people that you can hand this document down. They can end up adjusting it per se, whatever the thing is, but at least they'll have some groundwork as to what the general operating procedures are and some of the duties and responsibilities. I mean, we can end up adjusting that document however we want.
Anything else? Anyone else?
I think it's a good idea, especially for new members coming on board. It helps, you know, to have policies and procedures. I don't think we need to beat a dead horse. I think they should be clear and concise. Speaking of the website, I would also request, like, direction on what exactly we want on the advisory committee's page, okay? I have the link for the new information from the finance committees from the annual meeting. I can put that up there, but I need to know that I have the correct copy before I upload it, or try to upload it, okay?
I believe what needs to be on there, Julie, is the policies and procedures that we have passed, any documentation on any type of transfers, whether it would be emergency reserve, the one-time use policy, stabilization policy, end-of-year policy, as well as the document.
Right.
So
I need to know I have the correct version, because I have multiple versions of a lot of those policies.
Oh, I have those, if,
Okay,
I can provide those,
all right.
The final
I don't
version.
know if we want the rest of the committee to review those documents before I post them. I would like people to see
well,
it
we had
before I
that,
try to put
we
it up.
had that some months back, about 6 to 9 months ago. It was a packet that was given out with all of that, and it was reviewed, and I don't think we voted on it per se, but that was all the entire documentation that we had at that particular time.
Right. I don't think it's gonna hurt. I just wanna make sure that
Right.
it's the correct version, because I think some of the, like emergency reserve policy, I think that changed, or there were multiple versions of it?
No, there was only one change, because when it was originally done, the wrong Mass General Law was stated.
Okay, and then there was another one where the amount of money that we had in stabilization changed, because that number changed.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I have the correct information
Well,
before
that
I
one would
give
have
an
to,
attempt to.
that would
upload
have
it.
to be redone on the stabilization document,
Right,
because the last one was done before all the audits were completed.
right.
There is also the Municipal Modernization Act, you gotta remember. We gotta make sure that we are in line with that, anything that we post online.
Mhm.
And the DLS website has a, on the back end of it, I forget exactly, I was just looking at it today. But they've had, and I'll send that email out
Okay.
to all the members. Because they're having some presentations. And you can go back and look what they did in 2017. And there's some coming up. I wanna say, I'll send the email, September and October 4th, my birthday, in out west. One is down in, I think, Randolph. Holyoke is the other one.
Okay,
I think at the, I can't remember. It's at the same place. They're having the municipal legislative breakfasts here in next month. They have one there. But they're having some more, these, free to go, you just register, you show up.
mhm,
And they're gonna be going over, it's municipal law, finance, municipal finance, this, that, with regards to the Municipal Modernization Act. Because a lot of that stuff was kind of going like in steps, I think, or some of it.
like to be implemented?
Right, because
Right.
one, like, the public records thing started off like immediately.
Right,
And then the other stuff was like, a lot of it was coming like 4 or 6 months down the road, and then, so it's just something, you know, before, when we post stuff, we just wanna make sure we're in tune.
okay.
We don't wanna post incorrect stuff. There's just enough of that out there. So, that will be, so we're generally in favor of having some procedures or a booklet, and
Do you want that as a
Policy.
motion, or?
if that's something that you want, then further agendas, then we'll dig up examples, and I think they would get handed out December or November. I
In
think,
November,
maybe.
basically, yeah.
And it was put off, and,
Right,
you know, stuff happens, and
Yep.
it's, hasn't gotten back on for discussion.
okay. Do you need
I
a
just wanted
motion
to get
for
a
that, or
feeling.
Just a
you know,
feel? Okay,
I mean, if everybody said, no, we don't need it, then there's no point in doing it, but if most of the members feel it's a good idea, then, pretty sure I got a couple of those examples that you sent out. I'm a pack rat, so I have it, and, that'll be another meeting, next agenda, which is down here. That's one of the things we want on the next agenda, or, you know, down the road, but that's something we definitely want, then we will pursue that.
Do you want that as a motion, Mr. Chairman, or?
Do you want to make it a motion? I mean, or you can request it for an agenda item for our next meeting, or however you want to do that. I just get the idea that the majority of the members, if not all of them, think it's a good idea and be pursued.
I think it's a good idea.
So we're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting
Mhm.
to what, review the documents, or?
ought to come up with
Either
certain
come
policies,
examples, or do
procedures.
some homework and, you know, go look at other towns' things and, you know, basically, steal stuff. I mean, use ideas that are already existing. I mean, there's no
Right.
sense us beating ourselves up, trying to come up with a new idea, and then you go out and find, well, somebody already did that, you know, years ago.
That's one of the things, the recommendations that you hear at our annual meeting is that plagiarize as to what you want from other people's documents,
And just
to suit your needs for
And just
your community.
throw it around and do it, and it's,
I-
So-
The only recommendation or the only comment that I would make on it, and I do think it's a good idea, because I know I would have liked to have had more information when I first, went on to either one of the committees. But I just think we need to keep it short and sweet, so that it's, just not, it doesn't get lost. Doesn't get lost in the shuffle, it just
Yeah,
becomes too much information all at once.
yeah, it's like the finance committee handbook. There's a lot of good information in there, but the sucker's like an inch and a
Mhm.
quarter thick, and you look at that and you go, yeah, I'll get to that, Yeah, and I start reading through it, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'll get back to that, and if it's 4, 5, 6, 8 pages, I think you're more apt, I agree with you, you're more apt to look at and keep it with you than you are this big, thick manual. You go, yep, found what I wanted, because it is, I mean, it takes a lot of time. It takes time and effort to read that, and then I don't know how many people are gonna remember that whole inch-and-a-half book. If it's smaller, I think it's something you'll drag with you and put it on the website, and, again, if people wanna go there and read it, 5, 6, 7 pages, they'll flip through it. They look at 140, I
Right.
mean,
Mhm.
not everybody's a nut job to read all that. All right, so we can do that. The next thing is the invoice for the VADAR training that we had back in January. I believe we voted to transfer, and if you look at your budget versus actual, the one that I handed out, did I give, I thought I had another one. You could pass that down to Liz, please. I believe our purchase of services has $2,300, $1,700 in it. Because we voted, what was that, back in October, November, Will, to transfer money from the reserve
Yeah.
over there
Mhm.
to, and that's why that purchase of service account is so high, because we voted to transfer money out of the reserve over to that fund to pay for our training and our license. I think it was $1,750 that we voted.
Right.
And the invoice is for, the training was $1,000, the license was prorated from January 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2018 at $350. So we have a total invoice of $1,350. I filled out the cover sheet. We do have an invoice. The invoice was due date February 15th, but we didn't, our last couple of meetings, we were canceled, so it is what it is.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Mr.
I think I put an invoice copy in everybody's
Yep.
packet to see it. Yes.
I'll make a motion that we pay the invoice for VADAR in the amount of $1,350.
Second?
Motion made and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I think I voiced my opinion at the last meeting when the administrator was here, that by bylaw, I think the departments should be providing the level of detail that we have, and I think this is unneeded expense to the town.
But it is an expense that we asked for, but whether we should have had to ask for it.
I think we were pushed into the fact that we,
Yes,
because they would not supply it, and I think that's nice that we ended up taking the ground that way, but it's still an unneeded expense. The bylaw is pretty clear as to the town departments. when asked about their finances and the level of detail, that they should provide it, and it shouldn't fall on the advisory committee to take and do that. Because once this advisory committee changes, that level of detail is gonna be lost, and it's gonna be back to the bylaw again.
All right, any further comments, discussion? Hearing none. Liz?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Will?
No.
Bob?
Yes.
And yes. I have the cover sheet. I'll pass around for everyone to sign.
Want me to sign it?
Yep.
You okay?
And
I'm gonna refrain from signing it since I voted no. Okay.
And if the accountant is in, I will attempt to drop that off at town hall in the morning. Is the thing.
Oh, it's down on the
No,
bottom,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
You gotta write all that again?
I mean, there's not enough signatures. His is up there at the top.
That goes back.
Alrighty. Eyeballs back on, so I can see what the hell I'm doing. I can't lose that. All right, now, a budget versus actual and our VADAR. What did I do with that? If I recall, we had training back in January. 4 of our members showed up for it. It was Bob May, myself, Paul, and Julie. We have one username and password, so we can only get on, one at a time. If I'm on looking at stuff and then Paul sitting at home going, you know what? I'm gonna go look at that stuff, and he signs on, he will kick me off and he will get on. And I'll be sitting there going, what the heck? So, we kind of, well, I throw out there that if I visited it, it'll be like 3 in the morning, it'll be when everybody else is probably sleeping. But Paul, I think Julie's gone in a little bit, but I know Paul has been going in quite a bit. And, it's on their budget versus actual VADAR, cause at our last meeting, back in January, I think that was our last meeting, we kinda talked about, we try to discuss, or Paul could talk about how he's been going in. I emailed some of the reports, some of the things that he has come up with as he's been sifting through and finding out how to get stuff, and, I think he did the snow and ice, retirement health insurance. And those are some of the things that, like the snow and ice, that just keeps building, and it's a good thing to keep track of how much, we're in the hole for, beyond the 135, 133 that we voted at town meeting. So, that's the latest copy that I passed out to everybody of the budget versus actual. I think it's got a print date of 1/30/18 on it. I think it's for December. So, if you wanna talk about what you've what you found in there, Paul? How,
Well, what we had talked about at that last meeting was maybe using some time, do a working session as we go through the budget versus actual. I'd bring a projector and I could share the results of the, different report queries that we can do online. So if we can find a specific line item in here that we'd like to research in this report, I could pull up the detail information in VADAR. I did bring my projector. I'll have to go over there and set it up, but we might have to dim the lights a little bit too to be able to see everything, but we can go through that exercise if we
pass that down.
wanna do that. That's
Did you get this one?
No, I don't remember getting it.
Awesome.
Anyway,
So do we want to do that? I'll go and set up then if we're gonna
there's our password. I think it's still
do
good.
some actual lookups.
Yeah.
It's supposed to change.
I think so.
Just grab a few things.
Is that password still good, Paul?
Yes, I have, it was working as of this morning, so.
Okay.
I think we wrote the password in those packets. that
Yeah,
came
it's
out.
towards the back, the last page, something. I know we either gotta change it ourselves or it gets kicked, I forget the time frame. I believe it's in the literature. But
Yeah, it says change it every 60 days, so.
Mhm. So it probably just came up on the 30th, 30 days, so we have until March, whenever
something.
that
Yeah, whatever date,
training date
the,
was. All right, March 9th, because that's the date.
that's right, yeah, that's right, the 9th we did it, so.
Yeah.
We got, what, 3 weeks? Or 2 weeks,
Yeah,
2.5 weeks, 3
Until we
weeks, something like
change it. So we should come to an agreement on what it's gonna be.
that. Well, our next meeting is March the 7th.
Oh, it is, we're not doing the 20, well, what's today?
Today's the 21st.
21st. Okay, so
I think
March 7th. Okay,
is
so we
that.
can do it then?
could,
Yep. All right.
We do some secret squirrel stuff and come up with.
Okay. I suggest
we
we
don't
don't
wanna
get
sit
too
here.
complicated.
That's why the big guy in the sky gave me
Uh-huh.
a pen and a little green book. Because up here, a little rusty, I don't,
All right, so that's March 7th?
yes,
All right.
that's our next, I believe that's our next meeting. I double check, but I'm pretty sure. Unless you want to meet next week,
No, I'm
you
good,
good?
I'm good.
Ah,
All
guys
right.
are no
I think
fun.
I actually did this right. All right. Do you want me to get the lights for you?
Yeah, let me just,
Okay.
the right thing, I'll get it.
Oh.
Can you turn off your top phone or is it all on?
And if you weren't here at our last meeting in January, if you noticed on the budget versus actual now, instead of unknown, they actually name, like the selectmen now is 120 is actually named, and then you see the advisory
Okay.
committee.
Yeah, that helps.
The biggest screen.
And we're supposed to get this monthly instead of every,
Quarter?
right.
Okay.
That was what the town administrator put out at that meeting, which, baby steps, I guess, baby steps, but.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna have to move this closer.
Still reconciling accounts?
Can't see, the lights is
I
out.
can't see either, so. That's why I'm doing this.
That's a nice little one.
Yeah,
Look at
that's what I was
that.
just looking
I
at.
know.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
So is that an Apple
It
one?
doesn't adjust the
Oh, yeah.
screen size, you have to just move it
All
closer
right,
or
just
further away.
get in there.
Is that an Apple or is it,
No, just, I'm not even sure what the make is,
Oh.
something I got on Amazon.
He blinded me.
I have all
don't
sorts
find
of stuff.
Here's a laser.
It's like, oh my God, so old.
Yeah, I know. This side.
Hey, shoot that in my eye, maybe my vision will get better.
2 laser therapy.
love that. Is the cord connected?
What happened?
Up.
Mhm.
Oh, there
Oh,
you
there,
go.
it's over here.
It only
Yeah.
shines in people's eyes, I guess.
Do you want me to hold it?
Yeah, I think somebody's gonna have to hold it.
We could help you move the desk.
Man. I can see my night at the movies is going to heck.
Oops.
Every time I set it down, it goes out.
Yeah, when that moves.
When it goes, there it is.
Yep.
No, no, it's gone.
Through the arm, Paul, then it won't bend up. When, seems when that cord bends up.
This might work.
Oh, hey, look at this.
We could just move the desk closer.
Oh.
No, no,
Be my
that,
method, just like her.
Great, thank you.
See, you can tell he's with, the visual aid.
it's,
Tell that committee give you a raise.
Thank you. How's that? That's about as good as gonna get it, I guess.
All right.
It'll work.
You'll see.
Okay, so we go into the Templeton accounting. Which opens up the Centrix app, viewer. And we select reporting of the ledger history. Okay, so is there a specific account or department that we want to look up?
How about on the selectmen, just other?
Which one, the selectmen?
Yep.
And what code is that?
120.
120.
Okay. What do you want to see, the
Oh, I
expense
can't read
budget
any of it.
versus actual? Or the detail?
Probably the detail.
Sorry, guys, I just can't read it back there.
Come on, Liz.
No, I can't.
I'm
Oh,
just
mind your
faking
way.
it. I'm just faking it. I'm just
You
faking
just
it.
nod your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The print needs to get bigger for me.
Okay, and we want the detail with the payables, I'm saying. And we want 2,000. All right, so data that we have to date is beginning of the fiscal year to the end of January. Okay, and I'm sorry, what segment code did we say again?
Other.
120.
130. I think that's sub.
No, it'd be 120, right?
120.
120,
Yeah.
okay. Alright, I don't think we want all of these, let me reset this. One, 2, 0.
Okay, so that's sub-fund 1, okay.
This is gonna show us everything, I believe. And we're selecting, oh, good, starting at 7 PM.
You've 10 minutes.
Okay.
Trying to shut us down, that's what he is.
Yeah,
All right, so that was the account type, other. Oh, no, it does say selectmen. Okay. So that's just the payroll?
Mhm.
No, there's 7 pages of detail here. Maybe we should start with a summary and then work to the detail, but we'll just have to move from page to page otherwise if you,
Yeah, we start with a summary. If he shuts us down, I'll call Rob at 3:30 AM.
mhm.
okay.
I
You
got a
do
que-
that.
I got a question.
All right, so let me just do the,
Hey, can I get detail from July
Summary.
1 to August to September? Can I do a period that short?
There's summary down near the bottom, summary PO.
PO by group, yeah. The summary PO and summary PO by group.
okay. Try that, and we're still, okay.
Keep that.
Six accounts totaling. Yeah, this is just a one-page report then, so it's 125,438.
So is that selectmen other?
Yep, still,
Okay. I can't,
I don't know if I can get it, nope.
right, no, it's just that I thought selectmen other only had 7,500 budgeted.
That's all it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shows selectmen 100,
General fund.
125 out of the 265.
With 145, 56 left.
So it must be more than just the other
But see,
account.
that's odd, because it says
Subfund.
out of 265, you say, right? The number?
265.
Yeah, and see on here, it's 261, 387 is actually the allotted allocated amount.
No, it's 251.
251.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Yeah, I might need those too, yeah. Yeah. I could read that,
I know.
almost.
So the paper has 251, and that's showing 265?
Yep, that's what the,
We got a keying error.
I don't know.
Let's see, 165.
That says credit. Wait a minute, it says something different. It doesn't say allocated. What ours says, it says allocated, and that says credit, PO, encumbrance. Thank you. I thought it was gonna say expectations. I'm like, that isn't what it says. So was there money, there might have been money encumbered from last year, put into?
No, it's because the beginning balance is 0.
All right,
So at the beginning of the year, it started off at 0.
right.
So,
Yes, I can't read that little.
And then it goes debit 125 for 2875? All right. What's the next number under credit? Is it 255, 260?
94.
Okay. I think this is one of the way it displays, it's like it's the opposite of what we think of as credit and debits, or what I think of as
In
credit and debit.
municipal, yes, it's.
Yeah.
Want to do the allocation versus actual
Yeah,
report? Okay.
Because, yeah, like, in municipal, a credit is like giving it,
right,
and a debit is taking it away.
and away
And like
from,
in your bank account, a credit is,
you putting money in, right.
By group, by group. So we're selecting just the 120, so this is just gonna be for the select board, right? So let's look at the allocated detail.
Okay.
And there's 2 pages on this one. All right. Let me slide it over so it sits on the screen a little better.
And if we could go to the total allocated amount, personnel,
That'd be on page 2.
say,
Yeah.
65. That's purchase of services, right?
so we have
60.
251.
387.
All right, so then that number is, that's what we have in our printout in front of us.
Other detail, right up above it. Your other detail.
I was thinking the same thing. I have no idea.
That would be, what is that, 120, then 56?
Yeah, 56.
56, okay. Let's go to the PO detail then for that category. 120. Okay, and now we want, nope, that's not it. 56.
Yep. I don't know if anything's been expended out of it.
Okay, now, we want payables this time, right?
Okay.
Detail with payables. Selectmen, budget salary, wage adjustment. How many pages? Oh, this is, oh, geez.
Oh, I bet you that was the
That was the 5-minute warning.
bonuses there that they gave out.
But this is supposed to be
Remember they gave
the,
out those
Yeah.
incentive things?
Oh, that's the intergov, blah, 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 blah.
That's what I'm thinking, because
Alright.
the 7,500 rings a bell,
All right,
that intergovernmental.
This
thing.
is salary increases.
Yeah, that was out of that
Alright.
10,000, yeah.
okay, yeah. Actually, there have been expenditures out of that. I was looking at the one above. I need a ruler. Slow it down.
We have vision and,
Huh?
we have all kinds of vision
We
problems.
got
and
issues going on.
Yeah, yeah, we have issues,
Hey, you
okay.
speak for yourself, I see.
I have
fine.
issues.
I see fine.
Yeah, you see
know.
dead people?
Only if they move.
All right,
Turkey
so
vision.
there's no purchase order detail behind this?
I think it was just a charge off to other accounts within the budget, if they were the bonuses or incentives, what are they calling them?
I'd have to look up in the dang binder,
I don't know, they were calling them something.
because it is explained in there,
Yeah,
what it was for. They just don't
Alright.
wanna put this on here where everybody can see it.
should we continue this at the next
we got
meeting,
what?
if we've
What do we
got
got,
3
3
minutes
minutes?
left?
And they're gonna bump us?
Would you be willing to
Sure.
bring your stuff again?
Yep. I hope they don't make it a habit of doing it on Wednesday nights.
I know, at 7,
at
thank you.
7, Yeah.
And, I mean, what are they doing at 7 tonight?
They're doing an upgrade to the
Or
software.
maintenance, it sounded like I thought
Yeah.
it said, but,
Yeah, well,
so that could be a weekly thing they do, or,
It's all part of the plan.
was that?
All part of the plan.
Yeah.
We'll do it, it'll be first on the
Oh, okay,
agenda.
no conspiracy theories now.
Yeah,
No,
that'll give us an hour at
like
least.
conspiracy if it's true. If it's
Yeah, we'll put
provable.
this on first thing.
Yeah.
well, the other thing is that depending upon, might be able to ask the gentleman to postpone it an hour or two
Yeah,
on Wednesday nights instead.
If it's a regular
If it's a regular thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Did it show where the monies were moved from? Or to?
No, not two.
No, it's the same level of detail.
yeah, that would be a different report, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, one said with payables and one says with detail with PO. I think it's the same report. They just
Okay.
given it a different name.
Because I'd like to think I end up seeing where they move the money from one department to the other.
Mm-hmm.
We're shutting it down now. We're shutting it down because we're
Yeah.
losing our time.
Well, it looks like it was done in,
July, was it July?
yeah, July, and then distributed in September.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But why does it say 10,000 in July?
That's what was allocated, was 10,
I thought it was 75, no,
or
wait a minute.
maybe? Maybe I'm
Is
not
that
thinking correctly.
7,500?
I think it was 10 that was allocated, maybe 75 was spent.
Allocated 7,500, sorry.
Right, well, it says allocated 7,500, but I think that's because when they take the money out, it reduces the allocated amount, right?
Right.
Oh, when they did the transfer thing?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it-
the
Yeah,
allocated
whenever
was
you
less,
move money
so
in or out, the allocated
even though
number
we
changes.
voted 10 at town meeting,
When you transfer money out at town meeting or at the end of the year, the allocation changes.
changes, right.
And unless you keep track of all them transfers, you never, you can't tell, oh, we voted this much, and now we have this much. It's like you gotta, that's a job, I mean, you gotta keep track of all of that stuff, cause you can end up arguing over something, and then somebody will break out the book and go, see that? Oh, okay.
Right. Well, it's part of our job to track it.
Just ask questions.
Yep.
Should've kicked this off by now.
Maybe they're in a different time zone?
Allocated balance sheet. No. Okay.
All right, guess you got as many seconds out of that as you could. This is to be continued.
Always log off in case Jeff wants to look at it at
At
3
3 in the,
a.m.
right, well, he'll just kick you off if you don't log off.
Okay.
Right. Did you have questions?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how this works, because I'm just looking, it's like looking at
Chairman?
the scholarship, and this is just not understanding. how
Would
this
it be
works.
advisable that we, something like this here, you have a working meeting just to look at the budget to actual as to what it is, separate from our existing meetings? Because this would be somewhat time-consuming if you have to, if there's a lot of questions.
Right, that's- okay, under special articles on page 4. It's like just allocated, the fact that so much hasn't been expended already, and then what looks like it's available. So it's like the cruiser lease, right down here.
Yep. They probably just haven't paid the invoice yet.
I haven't paid the invoice yet.
That's what I would think. But bring it up, because I think we just need to wait for Paul to get back over this side, because
Let some of the younger guys do it.
Hey, not dead yet.
That's right.
So it's
My dad says that all
July. December,
Some
6
days it
months.
feels that way,
So we're 8 months in.
Yeah?
like last night,
So I just asked the
I had
question.
cramps, not right up in here.
Yeah. Nodding you right up.
And luckily, we end up, my wife, apple cider vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
but it does, it takes some water much quicker. Doesn't need the pain after. If any cramps.
Can I ask a basic question? This is educate Liz time. I'm just trying to and I'm just picking anything out, in this case, looking at, like the special articles on, bottom of page 4, where there's stuff that's allocated, the expended is 0, and there's an ending. And we're, 8 months into the fiscal year? Is this normal that this far? Because it's like, I'm looking at the fact that there's a cruiser lease on here that doesn't look like anything has been spent yet.
If I
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand I don't care about the details right this second, it's just trying to understand how to read it.
The only thing I know is like the scholarship, that's the one thing I know, it's the way the money is put out, it generally sits there. And I think at the end of the year, if they haven't done it, they'll encumber that. Because the way, I've heard John Brooks explain it one time, I think they have to do finish a year of school or something, so they're like, it's like behind, the town meeting appropriate, at least for that one, that's what I know how.
Okay,
And once they've done a year in school or a semester, one of the two, then the money comes out of there and it goes to the student. The other ones,
Well, one of the things is,
some of them might be bidding, they may have changed. I forget, I don't even know if that that truck is still running or not.
one of the things to why items are listed this way is that if they were in the budget, at the end of the year, they would come off and they would not go on. If they are separate articles, per se, they are set aside until they're expended or voted back in to the general fund or whatever.
okay, thank you. That,
So that, like the scholarship,
mhm,
until they expend some of those years, they will show the amount of money.
okay,
Yeah, and that one, like I said, they're always like behind
They're
because
always-
of the way the committee, and I think they're talking about changing that, revamping it, but the last selectmen's meeting I watched with John Brooks, who's on the scholarship committees, was talking about that. He explained how it works, and they're always like behind.
Yeah.
It's like a
They
student
want the
graduates, they don't give them the money. I think they have to do a semester or a year, and then
They have to
that
show
they've
their
gone.
grades or something.
Yeah, and then,
okay, all right.
kinda like they earn the scholarship.
Yeah, but, I mean, there are some old scholarships, like from 2014, 2015, those should probably be cleaned up. You know, why would you carry those?
We'll make it available for newer folks if they haven't used it. But thank you, that kind of explained, because I'm kind of going, what? Because we're 8
In the
months
case of the
late.
scholarships, they may have been allocated, but if the student didn't come in with the necessary paperwork, or they had not allocated all their money, it would still be there. It's up to the scholarship committee to end up going in and turning that money down, or allocating every year which year it goes under.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
And I had a question on page 5, I'll try to look this up after they're done with their update. Ambulance receipts reserved is zeroed out. And I know we voted that at the special town meeting, but I didn't think, page 5,
yeah.
I didn't think it was the whole amount that was in ambulance receipts reserved. There was a specific dollar amount, and I think that account had more money in it than what was voted at town meeting.
Yes, and we have, well, the committee received, I was just going through a pile of stuff. And we got an update on that amount. I think moving up to, we're getting close to the special town meeting back in October, November, whenever it was. I thought we got an update of how much money there was in there. And there should be money left in there, because the way that was
It
voted.
was 100,000.
I know,
There was
but the
more.
way, also, the way that was originally set up back in 12
Right,
or 13, whatever, one of the two, the money rolls over. So if you take out, there's 175 and you take out 100, there should be money left in there.
right.
And I think there was more than, how did that work? They wanted 100, they were gonna take that out, or vote it out at annual town meeting, because they were going off the estimate of what they would receive
Right,
by June 30th, and the DOR told them, no, you can't transfer money that you don't have.
right.
So they had to wait, and I think the amount was like 100 and 35, 100 and,
That
over
was
100,000 that came
At-
in receipts.
by
That's how much
November.
they had estimated,
Right,
and actuality, I think it came in a little bit more.
right.
And then when they transferred 100, so there
There
should
money
be
left in there.
money left in there. But I'll have to go back and look.
Now, I know the 100,000 that was transferred at town meeting went to the general fund, not to the fire department. So, But it should be
And I remember their
100,000.
argument was the fire department, I think they listed it now as a general fund expense. I remember that was the go-round. That's not how the article was voted in.
Nope.
Yeah, see, these are 1,000 coded, general fund expense. And then the sub is 220,
Which page you on?
page 2.
Okay.
But that's one of those things that I think the article was worded one way, and the final motion that was voted on said fire EMS expenses. I think that's the wiggle room that they have to do it the way it was done. I don't think I don't think they ever checked on it. But I remember going in and reading the article, and again, it was one of those, the warrant article said this, and the motion,
Said something.
not even the summary, it was, but the motion that was actually made, it was shortened up, and it doesn't match the warrant article. In other words, the warning that people were given, this is what we're gonna talk about and vote on. When they made the motion, it changed a little bit, and the wording of the motion allows that general fund thing. Because of the way they changed these accounts around.
Right,
And then if you look at the universal Massachusetts accounting system and the DOR's ruling, there's no mandate of how you set your books up. It's just if you call, like, the code's 121, yeah, it's gotta be police, but you don't have to everybody doesn't have to do it this way. You can, it's
right.
the local issue thing.
Well, but that still doesn't answer
Right,
the
it
question why it's
doesn't
zeroed out.
answer where they-
Right,
I gotta go back, I was just looking at that stuff too. But I remember they gave us, it was either in the stuff for the special town meeting, or we had a question about it. As how much was in there to approve, taking that money out, the transfer, even though it was being done at a town meeting. I seem to remember that this committee had a question about it, and I think we got a detailed accounting of it, how much was in there. Or it was sent out, one of the two,
Okay.
but I believe it was more than 100,000
right.
that was taken in
Up until the point in
till
November.
the end of the, fiscal year.
And from November till now, there should be receipts in there,
Yes, there should,
okay?
unless they're just,
Where'd the money go?
because that's where the money is gonna, a chunk of the money is gonna come from to pay for the new, the additional 2 full-time firefighters that they're
Right.
gonna be adding this year.
I don't know how you're gonna add anybody if you don't have any money.
State says you got to do it or you're gonna lose it,
Right,
so.
That's in April, right?
Huh?
That's in April, not in May.
Oh, yeah, that's April. They've gotta
Right.
be, you gotta be able to man so many hours,
Right.
and
What's the end date on this? This is the 12/30.
January 30th?
I had 12/31.
Yeah, but it's saying the end date is 12/31.
yeah,
Mhm.
and that's,
Why wouldn't we have the January? Posted by now, we're almost at end of February.
the fiscal day, it should be June 30th, 2018. Is, if you're looking at the fiscal
Right, the
year,
end date should be,
start,
right.
starting of the fiscal year is July 1, 17, and it should be June 30th.
No, what I'm saying is, this was
This was
on the
right.
30th,
Right.
and this is the latest report that we've received, right?
And it looks like they selected
But this is the,
12/31/17
where
to
is it?
generate the
This is,
report.
Right,
Right.
that's the period that they had data for at
Right.
the time,
Right.
so. So, we could run this ourselves if we want.
but see,
Right.
and that's the thing that they changed also, because up there, see, it says fiscal year 2018, it should,
Mhm.
you know, the start date of the fiscal year is here through June 30th, 2018. That's the end of the fiscal year. And the period that this ended, or covered up to, was there. Because they used to spell it out separate.
Right.
What we were just looking at VADAR though, was through January 31st. So it had all the postings, all the POs, the actual
Right.
And that's,
detail was
the next
through the
report
end
we
of
get
January.
would be that one.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, we can run this report ourselves.
Right. I
This
think it's
is
a
the-
template, right?
This
Yeah.
is the one they brought in, they printed out just the day before our meeting.
Okay.
Because the ones that are stapled up here is the ones that, on the right-hand side, the
Mhm.
two, I think there's two copies stapled on the left are the ones the additional ones I printed out, because I couldn't find
Okay.
the other two, because I've been moving stuff around,
All right.
so.
All right. So,
But there's still some loose ends with this document.
Yeah.
My opinion, anyways. So, right now, I'd put that VADAR on the next agenda and we try it again, or,
yeah.
uh,
Well, I'll try tomorrow. Hopefully they'll be done with whatever they're doing and I'll try to log in and see what,
they do.
you know.
We should, it'll be another week or so before we get another BVA.
All
Are there any other things on that,
The school assessment is only at 41% after 6 months. And just slow in billing us, or?
yeah, some of that is the time thing. The way they- All right, what is that? What did I do with that? I got a number, I gotta pay that. All right. So if we're done with that, and VADAR kicked us out, the next thing was capital planning update, and Bob provided, who's our representative on capital planning, 3 pages of what they're up to. You're still missing 2 members, right? Or just one now?
Just one now, as of tomorrow, Kate Fulton, I believe, is going to be our sixth member or fifth member.
Enjoy that time.
I'm sure we will. Thank you very much. Basically, for the most part, we've wrapped up most of the department meetings. Well, all the scheduled meetings. We're actually having one tomorrow with sewer because they came in after the fact and said, oh yeah, we want to spend some of our retained earnings and we need to go through you. So we're having the meeting with them tomorrow night. The paperwork that I handed out basically is our recommendation to the town administrator and board of selectmen. A lot of, let's say, self-paid items are going on in town here. If you wanna, I don't know, self-paid, however you wanna call them, money's not coming direct from the tax rolls. But the things that, we had 24 capital requests that came before the capital planning committee from the departments. We came up with our guesstimate number around $100,000 is what we were gonna have for a capital budget, and based on that, we went through their request and organize them as shows on, I believe it's page 2 of this. Fire department air packs, 550 dump and plow, police department cruiser, gas tracker, town center fire station doors, DPW building entry door, town hall windows, and Templeton Center Fire Station Training Room AC. Just so that you know, the 550 dump and the cruiser, that's based on a lease, and paying for the lease. Along the lines of what Liz brought up, we also let's say, made an inquiry in this as to why, it says the committee was surprised, I'll just read what we put in here. The committee was surprised to find that 7 of the capital requests approved at the town meeting in fiscal year 2018 have not yet been completed. Being 7 months into 2018, by not completing these projects, not only is the town not benefiting from them, we are not following the directions of the voters and not fulfilling our community's expectations. It didn't seem to us that it made any sense to go through the whole process and vote on these things and you have the town vote on these things and then to let them just sit for
Not do 'em.
7 months. As people like seeing what their money's being spent on. In the paperwork we went through, and you can see the 5-year capital projection here, that, the number's changing, the info that's being put in is also changing, so I don't, I think it's just, if any, it's showing that we're refining it a little bit. I don't think the number is real. It has some validity, but not, I wouldn't put it in my bank account, let's put it that way. But that's the 2 items, that, well, one item that we felt was already in play, that is being worked on and in process, so forth, is a police station. We didn't make a recommendation for or against either way. All we did was decided to move that along with the request from fire for a pumper truck. We just decided to move that forward because those both need, town meeting approval, they're debt excluded, they're not dealing directly with, let's say, the upcoming budget, number. But in that regard, just so that, you're aware, the pumper truck that is there, that was my number one recommendation. It's a 31-year-old vehicle. The expected average life of those is 20 years. There's parts problems, there's all those kind of things that are in place.
Is that the vehicle that we're always having to get new parts for?
I don't know. I wouldn't say. I know there's a couple of them, actually, and
Right.
one we just did a $18,000 pump on or something. But, it's a safety issue, and, so that was my reasoning for that. Other than that, I'll let you, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, if I have the answers. That's
So we're
it.
getting close to have a complete committee, or is a full committee, as far as the numbers that are listed on the
We-
website. I mean, you're down one, but
The thing that was nice, we had a quorum every single meeting.
Good.
Throughout the year. We do have now, almost a full complement. We're one short of our full complement, as it stands right now. Hopefully, that'll change. And it seems to be just, I know it's, a process, and it has been since, 2000 something. But it seems to be getting more refined, a little bit at a time, and hopefully, during this period of time between now and next September, we can consolidate it and get a few more of the, issues resolved. That would be me.
anything more on capital planning? As far as the district reorganization meeting, we've had 2 meetings. Going by the list of the membership, I think about, so far, maybe half of the people have been there, each meeting. The Templeton Town Administrator and the Templeton Select Board member have been at neither meeting. We have our next meeting is the 26th, 5 o'clock, the central office. The first, we have no mission statement, no official objective, discussed, voted on, listed. We have no officers, no chair, no clerk, nothing. The first day, we passed out some information and, about like the district agreement, projections for enrollment, the time frame when the school, Baldwinville will close, and the kids collapsing and going here, and the 5th graders going back to elementary school. Our last meeting, we broke into groups and just kind of come up with like good points of the move, some bad points or concerns, and some questions. One thing that was brought up about moving to 5th graders, excuse me, Athol Royalston just built, Athol built a new elementary school. And they had their 5th graders at the high school, junior high,
The
middle
middle
school.
Yeah.
I know, it's
It's
middle school now, it used to be junior high. Anyways, they had them there, they moved the 5th graders to the elementary school, and then they moved them back. Weren't sure of the reasons. One member of the committee, we're gonna contact them and see if we could get that question answered, or maybe have them come to our committee and, because it seems strange, you would take the fifth graders, put them in elementary school, and then for some reason, move them back. We're not sure why they did that. So, the superintendent wasn't there because he was out sick. So we gathered up our questions and our, good points, bad points, and we kind of grouped them together because if they were overlapping. And that's what the plan is for our next meeting, is to pick up on that. And there were some questions about the agreement. One thing in particular, is that if there's more than 10% of out-of-town students at an elementary school, that has to get approved by the school committee. And that doesn't include school choice. It's just like if there's more than 10% of Phillipston kids in the Templeton Center Elementary School, for that to happen, the school committee would have to approve it, and if they approve it, then that can happen. That's just one of the things brought up about, there was also talk about the disadvantage of the Phillipston students, because Templeton students are gonna be in a brand-new school with all the latest and greatest facilities and stuff, and the Phillipston kids now at the elementary school are gonna be at a disadvantage. I opined that I thought maybe that wasn't a bad thing, that was a pro, because the kids could be more resourceful and they could use that as a teaching moment to, we can do the same stuff, we just do it with less, and we come up with different ideas and different ways to do it. I thought that was, this critical thinking and this and that, but that's the kind of stuff that we've been talking about. From what I understand and gather from the discussion and the initial talk from the superintendent, the first meeting, whatever we come up with, if we come up with some ideas, will be presented to the school committee, and they can look at them and say, hey, that one's neat. The rest of them we don't like, or they can just look at it, crumple it up and throw it out and do what they want to do. And that's where we are really with that. We're just trying to, my take is so far, we're just coming up with ideas and things to point out to the school committee, and if we have any ideas, to present them to the school committee at the end of this thing, and it's talking like we're only gonna meet maybe a few more months, and not that, it's not like a year-long thing. I don't believe it's gonna be that long. It's just trying to come up with ideas and thoughts, and then put it in writing and pass it on to the school committee. One thing that I threw out there was, I thought, because they had numbers of first grade, second grade, third grade, they had numbers, how many special education students there were. They didn't have numbers, and I asked how many they were, if they had numbers. I was told they did, but they didn't have them at this meeting. How many handicapped students there are? I don't care, they're Phillipston, Templeton, wheelchair, sight, hearing impaired or anything. And I opined, and I don't think the number is large, but whatever the number is, those students should go to the new elementary school, because I think it would be better equipped to take care of those students. I understand the facility in Phillipston has been taken care of, and it is handicap accessible and stuff, but that's just my feeling. That small group of students should go there. But other than that, there's no real big information or facts or any points that have been voted on. Again, it's a true ad hoc committee, I think. We're just kicking around ideas, coming up with questions, thoughts, suggestions that are gonna be eventually organized and be brought over to the school committee for them to look at and use or not use, however they see fit.
Is the school committee doing the same sort of thing amongst their meetings? Do you know if they're doing?
I think they had started, and that's why this committee came up, because I think they started discussing it and then decided, instead of spending so much of their business meetings doing this stuff, over long, they would group it. So we have a finance committee, advisory committee, Templeton Town Administrator, a selectman. We have some teachers that teach in Phillipston and Templeton and the elementary level. Couple of staff from the district office, residents of Templeton and Phillipston, teachers. So we have, and there are some teachers who have opined, they think there's gonna be issues with parking and room and stuff at the Templeton Center School. I mean, that's just a concern raised,
It's,
or a thought put out there, that,
Oh, well.
think about to deal with. But, so it's a wide group. And we had some, just kicking around, just coming up with ideas and thoughts and questions and concerns and stuff. But it's a wide group. It's too bad, though. It's, like I said, I forget the exact number, but it's only been about half of us there at any one
Yeah.
time. So, but we, like I said, we just carry on. And I think we're gonna refine or discuss our questions, pros and cons and stuff at our next meeting. So it's, I think it'll be done May, June at the latest. I don't, the way we've talked, I don't expect that many more meetings. Because it's 2019 I think is the expected completion and move-in acceptance of the school. I think the fall of 19, that's not that far away. Fiscal year-wise and school year-wise, planning, it's not that far away. So, I mean, fiscal 19 is right around the corner. So I think they wanna have this stuff, and then the school committee can move it and then start their planning. That's my take on the way we've discussed things and stuff has come up. So there's nothing earth-shattering, nothing in concrete, and it won't be until we probably dissolve and put our ideas down and give it to the school committee, and then it'll be a school committee meeting. Like I said, I understand it, that they can either take our ideas or no, it's just, it is what it is. So that's the update on that. Nothing exciting, nothing big. I got an email from the town administrator. I've already seen this, it's on the MMA page, and I've gotten an email because I'm on the State House News or something. It's about the legislative breakfast that the Mass Municipal Association sponsors. And you go and, there's selectmen, town administrators, representatives, sometimes, like Senator Goby and all them. I know she will probably be there. They're having them, and they're free. You just need to register.
Take time off from work.
So the dates are Friday, March 2nd, and I can forward this email. I think I forwarded it, I'm not sure. Are in Fairhaven and Palmer Town Hall. Friday, March 9th is in Hudson at the Town Hall. And if you're up for a travel, you can go to Newburyport. And if you, like me, like to stay close to home, you wait till March 16th. You can go to Pittsfield or the Gardner Levi Haywood Memorial Library. They start around 8 a.m. and they're usually done by, this says 10 a.m., but past experience, about noontime. And they give you coffee and a muffin. So, you can bang out from work and, they talk about different stuff that happens in government and, questions, and like I said, sometimes they have, state reps, state senators there, and you talk about stuff, and sometimes there's somebody from DOR, DLS, things like that, and or somebody from the MMA, past ones, they talk about different stuff. Sometimes just updates, sometimes just kick around stuff about budgets, this and that. If you like that stuff. And like I said, there's I will forward the email, or I'll look at the webpage. DLS, September and October, they have that meeting, presentation about the Municipal Modernization Act, and with municipal finance law, municipal finance budgeting, stuff like that. Those things you do have to register. They're generally free, but they just want to know how many people are going to show up. The one on October 4th is in Holyoke, and the other one in September is in Randolph. So Holyoke's probably the closest. The 4th, I think, is a Thursday.
This is for next year?
This
Like-
summer coming up.
Okay,
Yeah, this
All
coming, in the fall.
I know. Well, I'm
Mr.
just,
Chairman, is there any cost associated with any of those?
No, they're generally free.
2008.
They just, like I said, they want you to register, just so that you have an idea how many coffees and donuts to share.
It could happen.
So, I think if I didn't, when I get home, I'll forward it, this email, and that DLS, or you just go to the DLS website, it's on there.
Yeah.
I came across that today. My exciting day. So, the agenda items for our next meeting will be March 7th. We'll bring up some examples or ideas for our procedures that we talked about earlier. If you think it's a good idea, if you want, we try do a little more VADAR stuff. Do the minutes, accept the minutes for this meeting. Does anybody else have any items or ideas or thoughts? If you don't have them tonight, just email me.
Yeah, Will had sent us, Division of Local Services sent out, they have a new, like, gateway that you can go in and generate for your town. They have like 6 or 7 different categories, and you can generate charts, like you can do free cash, you can do, it's interesting.
Oh, yeah,
I think
what's
you
that
can do
called?
debt. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it's a municipal survey, forecasting. I read it.
Yeah,
But, yeah, and they're opening up their gateway stuff to, there's a few more that used to be on the closed section is opened up too. It's
So,
over on the left where
right.
you
I think
access.
we should probably look at the debt on that,
Uh,
since that seems to be an issue.
What they basically have done is they've taken the data out of the data bank and created graphs,
Right,
Yeah,
which are very interesting.
but, yeah, I forget what they called it. But it's their notification, their new thing that they're doing. So instead of you having to go and hunt it down and dig through all these reports and look for the info, because it's always been there, it's just you go find it
right.
and put it together. Now they're doing that for you, and they're calling it something new. I forget what it was.
Well, you can look at other communities too, so you can look at Templeton and compare it to other communities.
There is another organization that has done for a number of communities, such as Hubbardston, Sterling, where they have created revenue, expenditure charts, et cetera. I tried seeing if I could forward some of that information, and I was unable. I'll have to make another attempt. I found that to be very interesting, is to take and end up showing you like-size communities such as ours as to how much revenue and how much expenditures that they have and how they allocate.
But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Seems like the DLS is starting to, I don't know, be a little more helpful, responsive to, communities by putting this information together, in a central way instead of, like I said, it's always been out there, you just have to go hunt and find it. And, it seems like they're starting to do, and I think some of that comes out of the MMA meeting like in July, and more advocacy for the cities and towns, especially the smaller towns. But so if that's, let's see, I'll look at that and see what it's called and do that.
Yeah, I might be able to pull it up, hang on.
I know they just sent it out, an update, I don't know, maybe last week or, I remember seeing the email, it wasn't too long ago.
No. Oh, Municipal Finance Trend Dashboard.
That's what it is.
Okay.
No wonder nobody could remember it.
I know.
I wanna see what's trending, I just go to Facebook.
Well, no, they have different things that you can pull out, so you can do your operating position, your unfunded liabilities, like OPEB, which might be useful for us, property taxes, general fund revenues and expenditures, demographics, and debt. I didn't do the debt, I should have done the debt one first. But I did not.
So,
Do you want me to forward
If
the
I
link to
might.
the advisory committee? I've got it right here.
oh, yeah, you can,
All right. See if it gets through. Committee at Templeton.org. It went. I don't know if you got
it's
it.
about how big my
let
phone
me
should
know.
be, so I can see it.
No doubt. I don't even bring by, you know, this,
My arms ain't long enough no more.
no.
Alrighty,
I'm gonna ruin your day. If we have 1 second for new business or a question from a rookie. It seems as though we have a, let's say, a odd event that's happening in the state. And I'm just wondering how we would go about handling that as a municipality. And it's related to the marijuana tax. There's a potential for a 3% local marijuana tax on sold items. That law, as far as I know, the process is coming into play this summer. I would think that it would be advisable for the town of Templeton to get ahead of the process. And noticing that the planning board is starting to discuss, placements and districts and all this issues. Other local towns are talking about the marijuana, how they're gonna allow it into the town, and so on and so forth. But I've heard no discussion within our town related to taxes. And since we are an advisory committee and / finance committee, I was wondering at some point if it wouldn't be our position to recommend to the select board or the town administrator or whoever the powers may be, that we either proceed with a 3% tax or put it before the voters anyway, to try and get ahead of it, rather than be behind the 8 ball, wondering what we're gonna do now. I just think, a little bit of proactive activity is better than reacting all the time. So, that was just my query, and any input would be greatly appreciated on a direction.
I watched the last planning board meeting I watched, they were talking about the meals tax, and marijuana thing came up. I think there's some members of the planning board that spoke like they don't think the town should allow it. A couple of the other members thought they should look at it. And they started talking about the meals tax and questioned, and these are some of the people on the planning board own stores or restaurant or cafes or however you wanna call them. And they were questioning the amount of money being estimated to be raised through this meals tax. And they was like, I don't know whose sales they checked, but they said they didn't check mine, cause there's no way, they're gonna generate that. So they are kinda talking, and the tax thing did come up, but, like I said, some members felt the town shouldn't even allow that to come in here. A couple of the other members were looking at the meals tax, and if you're thinking about other revenue, maybe we should at least, talk about it and bring it in here. Cause I think it's in July that the first license or the process is supposed to be, they're supposed to be done all talking about this and, letting these facilities, happen. To me, I think it's gonna be like the casino. Whoever goes first, like Connecticut had it, and look at them, they were booming, everybody, mass was going down there. If there's a town close by that, like, if it happens in Winchendon, and it's already been talked about, they almost had a facility going in the old plastic place, and then it backed out, but if it happens there, if people want it, for whatever reason, they're gonna go there if it's not here, and it's gonna be their gain and our loss.
Yeah.
It's, that's something it's gonna have to go to town meeting, whether, if we
Well,
want this or
To accept it or
not.
to not accept it. It has to go to
And
town meeting.
and one of the thoughts came up, I don't even believe that, the state was dumb enough, and I'm quoting what I heard from the planning board discussion, that the state was dumb enough to put this, on the ballot. Well, I don't know, maybe they forgot, but
That's not how it is.
the people went out and got enough signatures, just like if you wanna run for the planning board, you go out and get a number of signatures to get your name on the ballot. Well, that's what people did, and they got it on the ballot, and they voted for it, and they said, we want this.
Well, and that's the kicker of the whole thing, excuse me for a minute, I'm just gonna follow right in with that lead that you just placed me, that in 2014 and in 2016, Templeton voted 61% in favor of medical marijuana and 53% in favor of recreational marijuana. So the planning board is going against what the town voted for if they propose to place it in the adult entertainment district swamp up on 202, as was stated at that meeting also.
What is that? Okay,
So,
I'm completely out of the loop.
What's
but-
the matter with you?
I know, I think completely, too much family stuff. So, what is it that, does the town really, or does somebody need to say, first of all, yes, we want to do it? Obviously, the town's already kind of said that through the votes, over 50%.
On the state, when they had the election.
When they had the
ballot
election,
question.
right?
Yeah.
Is that, help me here, is that the only thing that has to happen in just whether or not we're actually gonna tax it? Is that no?
No, you have to adopt a certain wording from the municipal law division, which is in Worcester.
Yeah.
They have the wording set aside that if a town is going to allow recreational or medicinal marijuana to be sold within its boundaries, it
Boundaries.
has to adopt this wording,
Right.
and town meeting has to do that.
It's like the CPC, you vote to accept it or not accept it. the people of the state voted, yes, we want it legalized, but then them geniuses down at the State House decide to say, well, it's legal in the state, but, we'll let each town decide if they wanna have it or not. So essentially, you could have a dry, like,
Yeah.
down south someplace in
Right.
a dry county, no liquor, even though it's a legal product. That's similar thing here, you have to have a town meeting vote to accept, like, it's like you accept a mass general law for this or that, that's what you have to do, yes or no. And if they vote not accept it, then there won't be any legal pot sales of any kind in Templeton.
But there are
Community
plenty of
selectmen
people-
who
there
have
are plenty of
chosen-
people doing it, though.
Community selectmen that have chosen to take and end up allowing recreational marijuana to be sold in their community have ended up voting and putting that on the ballot because of the revenue impact to the community. This community has never ended up being on the forefront of anything.
Maybe.
Thank you. It's true.
It's true,
True.
but it's, there's no time like the present
Present.
Change that.
to change that. So
And in
I-
addition-
I'm in support of at least getting it on a
In
ballot.
addition to that,
Yeah.
you haven't seen any facility of any type approach this community to take and end up coming in. Why? Because it's because of what has transpired in the past politically, period.
And we have, we have Route 2, so we have out-of-state taxes. If we put a facility right next to Route 2, we get out-of-town taxpayers paying taxes in Templeton.
That is the
What
way
a
to do
better
it.
situation could we have for the town? When each dispensary, on average, throughout the country that's open now, produces more than $1 million in sales a year, they have to, just to basically produce an income for the owner, is basically the break-even point is around there. So, who wouldn't want $30,000 in taxes from any facility that opens?
Did you do the math right?
Yeah, I did, twice, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But,
I'm just
No.
going back to
No,
the
I'm
meals
just- I'm
tax.
just throwing out
Rather
numbers there.
exuberant revenue
Yeah. Yeah,
estimates.
yeah.
Yes.
You know.
It could be a good thing, it just,
People are going to partake, those that are willing or wishing to partake are going to partake. And, my personal belief is we might as well get a cut of that income.
I think we're
That's
talking
my
about
personal-
hemp too, though, so hemp would be a great thing for farmers,
For farmers to grow that.
across the board. It's 1 in 4 for, as Jeff put up on his blog. It's basically 400 times more productive than wood.
but
I need to keep my mouth quiet then.
Between
Yeah.
fiber and food.
Fiber,
So-
food, oil, all those
Biodiesel.
things. So anyway,
we will see, I guess, where
So
that
is-
goes, if it goes anywhere.
Well, I
Do we
think,
need, are you suggesting that we take some sort of action? Are you looking just to talk about it?
when does the warrant close?
February 28th,
February 28th. And our next meeting?
Wednesday.
March
Next-
7th.
All right. Can we do this under new business as a warrant article? So, 'cause
We can,
how are we gonna
if we
get it on the
do,
warrant?
if we do a warrant article, no guarantee it's gonna get on.
Right, but at least
How about if
it's
we
an
do,
attempt.
can we do a motion to the, I don't know, how you guys have had a lot more experience with this than me, but a motion basically to the Board of Selectmen or to the town administrator suggesting that it be put on the town warrant as a, proactive tax measure.
I'm not sure we could end up doing it at this particular meeting because it doesn't say that there's new items for the agenda. It wasn't an agenda item, so we would probably be breaking the open meeting law
And
if we had a vote.
also, just thinking, I think we would have more input and a better chance to make a case if we do it like after the fact, like see what's on the warrant. Because there's no telling who's putting what, the planning board's action's gonna be or anything. We could make a stronger case, because like I said, if we, just because we send a warrant item request over to the selectmen, they can look at it. Because they decide. The only force you have is through a citizen's petition that can guarantee you that it'll get on the warrant.
Well,
Doesn't
just the
guarantee
fact that
anything
you're
else.
talking about it this evening, selectmen watch this, you'll probably see one of the selectmen end up grabbing a hold of it and take credit for what you're discussing tonight.
Great.
But,
I don't
So-
care. I
Yeah.
just, I would just like to see something done so that we have another source of revenue for this
Right.
town.
like I said, watching
Besides
the
the
planning
logging.
board meeting,
Yeah.
that's gonna be, whatever they do, it's probably a coin toss, because they seem,
Good luck with the farming
Well-
community.
there was, I don't even think it was a 50-50 split as far as for and against. I think it kinda, and dare I say, maybe, maybe old people like me and don't wanna go for it, but I just think, I think we'd have a bigger input or impact, or we could do something more, have a better say in it if we wait to see what falls out of the tree, if anything. Because if we, even if there was new business on the agenda, we could put a warrant, submit it to them, and like I said, it'll end up in the round file. Because
Well,
the selectmen are in charge of the warrant, other than citizens petitions.
See, the other thing to keep in mind is that the town needs other revenue streams. And there are towns in New Hampshire, or Massachusetts, wherever, that, have malls, and they have things where, so much of their revenue comes from those activities. And there are people that are for marijuana, there are people who are against marijuana, but if it helps, people are gonna partake for whoever's going to, and you might as well get some of the revenue from that.
Yeah, there's no
And
sense in
You can't
money
plumb
from
out that.
town going out of town when it
Right.
could stay in town. But
Exactly.
I don't think,
Yes.
I think people are either pro or con marijuana, but I think everyone is pro revenue if it's not coming out of their pocket.
Exactly.
That's,
Thank you. You said it much better
You
than
know,
I did.
and we
Yeah.
do have, but to Will's
you,
point,
Julie.
we do have some places where we could place it,
yeah.
pretty much away from neighborhoods, away from schools. But,
Right.
I haven't read or heard of any entity or any individual or any group knocking on Templeton's door. They've knocked on Winchendon's door, they've knocked on a few other towns' doors, but they
Yeah.
haven't come here. So, it may be, lot for naught, but
Maybe we need to
Uh,
get the word out.
Yeah.
we shall
Farming
see.
community looking for. I
Looking for some
mean,
farmers,
yeah, hey,
Yeah,
because we don't grow
It's-
corn no more.
it's income.
And we don't have dairy cows, so. So, unless there's anything else, we can rush to hit the door.
okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn, or does anyone have anything else? So, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes.
You
Yeah,
stay
you can
here.
stay here.
Okay.